Welcome to the African Innovation Landscape, your one-stop spot for African-powered ideas in technology, innovation and science. On this episode, we attended the 15th Biannual General Assembly and Scientific Conference of the African Academy of Science. We had the opportunity to speak with Professor Lise Korsten, the first female president of the African Academy of Science in over 30 years. Additionally, we engaged in a thought-provoking discussion with Professor Hilary Inyang, who shared his insights on addressing Africa's specific vulnerabilities to climate change. I guarantee you that these two leading change makers are worth your time, so stay tuned. I'm first of all proud of you. You're the first woman to break the barrier and how do they call it? Glass ceiling.
The glass.
To become the first female president of AAS. It's such a huge one.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, first of all?
I was surprised. I never thought the fellows will vote for me, being a female and being a very male-dominated environment. But when it happened, I loved it. I thought a woman brings a different dynamic. I bring a different leadership style. I'm more calm. I want to get agreement and settle. I'm not sort of forceful. And I think a woman's skills is maybe what we need right now. This is a time for Africa to stand up and to have a united voice. And I think a woman, particularly if you've reared children, you have a different view of life and a different way of getting what you want. And I thought that's why it was a very good opportunity for me as a female to step in and take that leadership role. So I loved it. It was wonderful.
And I love it for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so now tell us about Lisa. Tell my viewers.
Myself.
Yes.
So I must tell you, I come from South Africa, and I come from a family that's actually a wine family. And the wine farm has been in our family for 320 years. So I'm very proud of that. And I do appreciate the production and the system, and I think there's where the passion for agriculture came from. So I'm an agricultural scientist, and I look at plant health, plant diseases, food safety, and it's about food security for me. So my whole career was developing agriculture and ensuring there's safe food for all. And I'm passionate about it. So I've trained many students in agricultural sciences, and I've published in food safety and post-harvest technology, and it's just been an amazing career. I had so many opportunities. I was the first professor in our university in agriculture, so I think that was already breaking the first ceiling, and I was, as a young scientist, pushing for reform for females in science, because we had no maternity benefit. I got a lower salary than my male colleagues. We didn't get a housing subsidy, nothing. So I had to take each of these issues, and I started writing letters to the Vice Chancellor, and I took it up, and I'm so glad I did. I stood up for women, and in those days it was really a concrete, not a glass ceiling. And once I realized you can change things and never ever give up, I just kept going, and I raised children, 3 children, while I was a scientist, and developed my career further on.
Okay.
So
I love that. I love your trajectory. Very inspiring. I'd like us to go back to AAS, especially as a woman, speaking now as a woman, as the first president of the African Academy of Sciences. What's your vision for the organization?
I need to take this organization to a new height. We need to bring the voices together. We have to speak up, stand up as one. Our future lies in that. So we need to get people around the table. We need to reach out to government and industry and funders globally and locally. And we have to have a good strategy. We have to really plan the future in a totally different way. It's no longer good enough to sit back and and be the recipients. We need to be the drivers. We need to put the research agenda on the table. And we need to say what we want. So we as the Academy of Science for this continent want to unify. We want to speak with one voice. We want to get the people around the table so that we can lead the world, not be part of the leadership, be the leader in the world in science and technology. And for us, that's very important. So I see that as a vision for us in the future. And we don't want to leave anyone behind. We want to take all the countries with us. And we're encouraging young scientists and we're trying to get funding to support them so they can become the next generation of leaders. And the most important is to build the next generation of Nobel laureates. We've only had, 29 Nobel laureates in this continent. It must change, and we want to change that. But we have to create that enabling environment for our fellows and for our young scientists. So that's what we want to do.
So far, have you encountered any challenge to see that this vision you have, this mighty vision, is coming to play smoothly?
I think it is. There's a different climate out there. I almost want to make a statement. There's a next scramble for Africa. It's a science scramble. People want to invest in Africa, and they want partnerships now. And if I say people, I'm talking about European countries, China. They're talking to us. They are saying, let's work together. Let's develop a new agenda. So there's a new era coming, so I feel so positive about the future. I don't think we have ever been in a better position than we are right now. We have a voice and we must use it. And we have partners and networks that's inviting us in. We have to go and sit around that table and make a difference.
I love that. We have to sit around the table and make the difference. All right. You've just watched Professor Lise Korsten share her journey and vision for the African Academy of Sciences. Now it's time to watch Professor Hilary address the climate change vulnerability in Africa. We'll take a quick break now and continue the program on the other side.
My name is Hilary Inyang. I am the chairman and distinguished professor of the Global Institute for Sustainable Development, Design and Advanced Analysis. It is based in the United States in North Carolina, but it has a branch here in Abuja to cover Africa. I've done some things in academia as a former vice chancellor, researcher and so forth. But I won't concentrate on that. My focus now is on climate change vulnerability and adaptation systems in Africa. What could be done? What are the challenges you've just asked me? The challenges are in various categories. There are some direct challenges, there are some indirect challenges, and there are some challenges that are economy scale challenges. So first of all, you've heard about the fact that global climate change with respect to temperature rise will cause disruption of systems, disruption of environmental health systems. So there are many categories of that. I will not go into them in detail. But here in Africa, that is supposed to translate to droughts, more floods, and those are the two major ones with respect to the dislocation of ecological systems. But then other impacts that are indirect would derive from those. For example, you have just listened to health impacts, that malaria will split to areas that didn't have malaria before, and some contaminants will go along as things that are secreted by microorganisms, not only above the ground surface in surface water bodies, but in the air. And there will be heat wave that affects a whole lot of people. Of course, you also know that global climate change is causing desertification and causing whole-scale displacement of populations from certain parts to other areas. and that's a formula for inter-community conflicts, which are already happening in Africa. So on the whole, climate change has impacts at the level of communities, at the level of higher jurisdictions, and the level of whole regions. For example, the Sahel part of Africa, where that challenge is already causing a whole lot of social and political problems.
All right, thank you. I like that you mentioned how climate change is affecting healthcare. But what is really being done to see that this is no longer a challenge? Is there something currently ongoing to see that climate change doesn't affect the healthcare system in Africa?
Yes. Well, climate change response usually comes in terms of two categories. There's what we call mitigation, which is more of upfront, and there's what we call adaptation, which is more of posterior. Well, you ask what is being done. Africa has argued that they would like to focus on adaptation because that's immediate response. Mitigation requires a lot of money, and so the global financing system against these things is mobilizing, and that's a function of some of the COPs, COP, the organizational things that are being done by countries globally to intervene. But in the health care sector, which is the question you asked, what is being done? Well, advisories have to be developed and promulgated across many countries. There's got to be much more of response systems, because sometimes those impacts are acute. So do communities have ambulances to deal with heat waves and how people succumb to heat waves in many places? No, they don't. There are other ones that are chronic that would have to do with health, that health advisories, public health system, having some standards, having enforcement against spreading of diseases or actions that would cause spreading of diseases. Specifications on septic tank, boreholes, and protection of surface water bodies. So these are all the interventions that are needed. Some places are better at it than others, but we are arguing that through events like this, that knowledge should be brought to bear, and systems by governments, policy support by governments, and financing with involvement of the private sector.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Yeah, thank you.
On the final note now, this is Idea TV and we are the first innovation TV in Africa. Seeing that we are not conventional,
yes,
what advice do you have for us?
Well, since you are not conventional, and this is very important, I'm very happy you've asked this question. Idea as a television program should really go after the innovators. Make sure that in the usual category of selection of interviewees and programs will focus on, that you are not focusing only on government personnel. Government personnel are very important because they are the ones who are drivers of policies. But then on the implementation front, you have to look for innovators who are university professors, analysts in agencies, private sector personnel, students, and even community members. Because even one of the greatest of us, that is Professor Albert Einstein, learned some of the things he used for the relativity theory from working in a mechanic shop. So they are important too. Innovation has very many dimensions.
Thank you for watching so far. I'm confident that you've enjoyed each session and are now ready to inspire change from your little corner. Do not forget to stay up to date by following us across all our social media platforms. Until I come your way again, my name remains Chinatu Oji.